Alright, let's dive into something sweet and surprisingly complex. Today, we're talking about ice cream economics. Yeah, you heard that right. Ice cream. But not just the creamy, sugary kind, the kind that makes you think about how much of your life you're trading for a single scoop. Sounds dramatic? Stick around, because it gets even more fascinating. Here's the hook. Did you know that in some countries, you need to work almost 3 times longer than in others just to afford one scoop of ice cream? Crazy, right? This isn't just about dessert, it's about purchasing power, tourism, and the hidden costs of everyday pleasures. Let's break it down. First, the basics. According to Euronews, the price of a scoop of ice cream varies wildly across countries. We're talking anywhere from €1.15 in Turkey to €4.10 in the UK. But here's where it gets interesting. The cheapest scoop doesn't always mean the least burden on locals. What matters isn't just the price tag, it's how much of your workday you're trading for that treat. Personally, I think this is where the story gets really compelling. It's not just about currency conversion, it's about the value of time. For example, in Germany, you need to work about 7.4 minutes for a scoop. In Greece? Almost 21 minutes. That's nearly 3 times as long. What this really suggests is that the cost of living isn't just about prices, it's about how much of your life you're spending to afford those prices. Now let's talk tourism, because this is where things get messy. If you've ever been to a popular tourist spot, you know the drill, prices skyrocket. In Greece, a scoop might cost you €2.60 on the mainland, but on the islands? Up to €6. That's a vacation tax, plain and simple. And it's not just Greece. Turkish tourist destinations have seen prices jump to TL 100, $120 per scoop, which is a huge markup compared to Istanbul. What many people don't realize is that these inflated prices aren't just about supply and demand. They're about exploiting the fact that tourists often don't have a local's knowledge of fair pricing. From my perspective, this raises a deeper question. How much are we willing to pay for convenience or experience? And more importantly, how much should we be willing to pay? I mean, is a scoop of ice cream on a Greek island really worth 3 times the price? Or are we just paying for the view? Now, let's zoom out for a second. Ice cream prices aren't just random, they're tied to bigger economic trends. Take Greece, for example. Prices there have risen by about 20% since 2020. Largely because of higher energy costs. One thing that immediately stands out is how vulnerable small industries like ice cream production are to global economic shifts. Energy costs, ingredient prices, even rents, all of these factors trickle down to that little scoop in your cone. A detail I find fascinating is how flavor affects pricing. Pistachios, for instance, can cost between €40 and €80 per kilogram. That's why a pistachio scoop is always pricier than vanilla. It's not just about taste, it's about the global supply chain. If you take a step back and think about it, your ice cream choice is basically a microcosm of global economics. But here's the silver lining, ice cream inflation is starting to melt. In some countries, prices are actually dropping. Portugal saw an 8.3% decline, and Greece is down 2.6%. What this really suggests is that the worst of the price hikes might be behind us. But don't get too excited. A negative inflation rate doesn't mean prices are back to pre-2020 levels. It just means they're not rising as fast. So, what's the takeaway here? Personally, I think it's this. Ice cream is more than just a treat. It's a lens into how economies work, how tourism affects pricing, and how global trends impact even the smallest purchases. Next time you're standing in line for a scoop, think about how much of your day you're trading for it. And maybe, just maybe, appreciate it a little more. But here's my final thought. If ice cream prices can tell us so much about the world, what other everyday items are we overlooking? What other stories are hiding in plain sight? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts.